Thanks so much for your time once again. And are you a victim of salary deduction just because you flouted one or two company rules? Well, if you are, then you have a legitimate case to sue your employer, because actually legal practitioners are saying that deduction of salaries as a form of punishment is against the labor laws. So if you are that bold to take on your employer, well, you may have to tune in for the summaries next.
A private legal consultant and honorary fellow of the Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners Ghana, Mr. Alexander Williams, has questioned certain practices of HR practitioners and managers, including the practice of employers or HR managers deducting from employees' salary as a form of punishment or sanction. He advised employers to desist from the practice as it is an illegality contrary to the provisions of the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, which reads, "An employer shall not impose a pecuniary penalty upon a worker for any cause whatsoever, or deduct from remuneration due to a worker any amount whatsoever." He further advised that even for the sanction of demotions, you do not touch the worker's salary. Questioned further what's then to do, he urged employers and HR managers to find other forms of punishment as stated in the organization's conditions of service. Aviation Minister Joseph Ada has directed the aviation industry regulator, the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, to ensure that it works assiduously to ensure that the 3 new airlines undergoing certification become operational by December. Baby Jet, Ashanti Air and Unity Air are currently undergoing their certification process with the GCAA. The 3 airlines are at different stages of the certification process. However, with a huge investment in on-ground infrastructure, investors with the capacity to render domestic air services are being encouraged. The Consumer Protection Agency has dared the Ghana Standards Authority to publish names of companies dealing in substandard goods in the country. The agency has also threatened to proceed to court if the names of the companies are not published within 7 days. According to the Chief Executive Officer of CPA, Kofi Kapito, Professor Alex Dodu, the director of the Standard Authority, declared on air that his outfit will soon publish the names of companies trading in substandard goods. Mr. Capito said as a regulator, the GSA has the responsibility to let Ghanaian consumers know companies that were violating the law in order to make informed decisions. If the names of the companies are not released in 7 working days, CPA will go to court to compel GSA to release the names. If you are going to give us the names of those who are doing the right thing, why can't you give us the names of those who are flouting the law so that at least consumers will know? He quizzed. One of China's biggest smartphone makers has never sold a handset in the country, yet thousands of miles away, it dominates markets across Africa. Unknown in the West, Transsion, producers of Tecno and Infinix phones, has left global players like Samsung and Apple trailing in its wake in a continent that's home to more than 1 billion people. In cities like Lagos, Nairobi and Addis Ababa, busy streets are awash with the bright blue shop fronts of Transsion's flagship brand, Tecno. In China, the company doesn't have a single store, and its towering headquarters in the southern megacity of Shenzhen goes largely unnoticed among skyscrapers bearing the names of more famous Chinese tech firms. The company took a different path to success from other top Chinese smartphone makers such as Huawei and Xiaomi, which started out in China before eventually expanding overseas. Transsion built its business in Africa, and it has no plans to come home. The battle to offer the world's longest non-stop flight steps up a gear today when a new Singapore to New York service takes off. Singapore Airlines is relaunching the service 5 years after they withdrew it because it had become too expensive. It will cover more than 15,000 kilometers and is scheduled to take just under 19 hours. Qantas launched a 17-hour non-stop service from Perth to London earlier this year, while Qatar runs the 17.5-hour service between Auckland and Doha. The flights from Changi Airport to Newark's International Airport in New Jersey will be taken off amid much fanfare and with barely a seat to spare. Singapore Airlines said there was a demand for customers for non-stop services, which helps to cut traveling times compared with flights which have a stopover. BMW is racing ahead of other global automakers in China. The German company said Thursday that it will pay 3.6 billion euros to take control of its business in China. It's the first international car maker to announce this kind of deal since the Chinese government moved earlier this year to relax ownership restrictions. Under the deal with its Chinese partner, Brilliance China Automotive Holdings, BMW will increase its stake in their joint venture by 25% to 75%. The deal is expected to close in 2022, the year when China will lift the ownership limit on car manufacturing operations. The move will dramatically deepen BMW's involvement in the world's largest car market and help protect it against disruptions caused by trade conflicts and tariffs. BMW sold 560,000 cars in China last year, more than the United States and Germany combined.